What's up, guys? I'm going to be answering all the questions. First, why stick with Azur lane? The biggest reasons are the little amount of investment to keep up with everything, not being pressured to spend money in order to obtain new units, and I also really love the art and diversity of artists, many of whom I was following even before they joined Azur lane. For example, Nagu, AT-Dan, D-Smile, ASK, and so on. I'm also planning to make a list of my top 10 favorite artists in the game, but when it comes to videos where I don't have a clear gameplay topic in mind that I want to explain from beginning to end, it takes a bit longer to plan the whole thing out. Next, when am I going to oil up on Facecam? That information is available to members only. Next, you want to know my favorite ship of each faction. I'm not going to do the factions that have less than 10 ships, and I'll go based on the filters in the doc. For Eagle Union, probably Bremerton. I think I would go with her for my favorite in a very tight race against Baltimore and Anchorage. For Royal Navy, Janus is an easy choice, but I really love Cheshire, Scylla, Vanguard, and Unicorn, and I would say that many of those I like more than my favorites in some of the other factions. As for Sakura Empire, yes, it's Kaga, but aside from that, there are many more, like Shinano, Amagi, Kazagumo, Zuiho, Shokaku, Kashino, and Mikasa. They just have a lot of ships. For Ironblood, it's FDG, but Aegir, Seydlitz, and Zeppi are pretty close. Dragon Emperor is easy, it's gonna be Longwu by far. For the pasta ships, I have the two submarines, Baraka and Da Vinci tied. For Northern Parliament, I have Chapayev, but Soyuz is a very close second. Iris and Vishia are easy Alsace and Jean Bart. As for meta ships, I don't really like them much or know much about them, but Renown and Wichita have pretty sick designs. And yeah, as for the paywalled content, this is a pretty good idea. I might make some member-only cooking videos. The ones I'm eyeing next are steak and Japanese-style curry. Next, which ships would I like to see getting retrofits? I'll break them down into two categories. First are the realistically possible retrofits. For that, I'll say Longwu. She has really good skills, but her lack of stats hold her back from being good. If she just had the stats of a typical Gold Sakura Empire torpedo destroyer, she would already be really good. Aside from base stats, maybe an upgrade to her healing effect would make her an incredibly strong ship. Next is Enterprise. I feel like she would be the most expected to get a UR retrofit. Giving her 100% on Lucky E and extra stats would already be really good. And then aside from that, maybe a small faction buff, since USS is sorely lacking in that department. As for the wishful thinking retrofits, I would like Jean Bart and Janus to get retrofits just because I like them and want to use them more often. Next, there is a question about the module conversion stones. I feel like it should be explained on the wiki, which would be a whole lot faster than asking me here, but yes, the augment stats only go up, much like Bitcoin. Next, who are the 5 cutest ships? That's going to be Janus, Longwu, Zuiho, Unicorn, and Jade, whose name is actually apparently Yade, according to the Japanese spelling of it. Like, what the frick is up with this German language? And then this is my current Operations Iron Fleet. Pretty much just random stuff. Tips for farming submarine affinity. I don't really do it unless it's a raid event, then I bring one submarine at a time and use a zero limit broken Cassin or Downs, and keep rotating a level 1 light carrier on I think either the normal or easy difficulty, whichever one is doable. So that's just 3 extra oil on top of the submarine. Next, will there be any type of checklist gear guide in the future? I'll think about it, but it's ever changing since new stuff is always coming out. I could make something where I talk about what my thought process would be if I were a new player thinking about, for example, what PR season I would spend my time doing, and things like that. But for example, if I gave the advice of going for 2 406 Mark 7s from the Gear Lab, and then randomly they drop a gun like the line gun, then I will have to go back and say, actually, and there are people who are going to miss the updated video. So I prefer to just teach everyone how to tell if a piece of gear is good, and then let them have the final say in what they want to spend their time doing. Next, what is the path Azur lane should take in the future? In my opinion, I think fleshing out the really important or core characters more is the best way to go, whether it's by 3D dorm, secret memories, skins, events, and whatever else. The amount of releases that are pretty much forgotten on arrival is a bit too high, I think. Going through the purple ships in my dock, sorted by date obtained, I would be surprised if many of these ships here got a new skin, and some of them weren't even released with a skin, like poor HMS Enterprise over here. Gameplay-wise, I always thought an event that expanded the Operation Siren map would have been cool. Next, this guy is just using me like rock. Probably just go for more LA9s. Next, we have a half-Japanese comment. 日本語の視聴者さんもいるかな?私の英語理解できるんでしょうか?配信していた時も時々日本語のコメントが出てきたけど、応援してくれてありがとうございます。Next, when am I going to post an updated Chapter 15 fleet video? I don't really have it on Letho, so I can get away with a lot of stuff in Chapter 15. I don't really know if it will translate well to a full Letho clear. If you need a fleet for full clearing on safe, I don't think fleets have gotten much better since the last one I posted. Like the fleet with Z52 and Z1, where I didn't even use any equipment on Z1. If you replace Z1 with an actual ship like Trafalgar, Provincian, or Unzen, it should be a pretty easy clear. Next, if I had to delete one PR generation, which would it be? I think it would have to be the first generation. Gen 2, there's FDG, 3, Cheshire, 4, Anchorage, Haku, and Aegir, 5, Plymouth and Brest, 6, Shimanto, Hindenburg, and Flandre, 7, Halford, and Dyson. I wouldn't want to see any of them disappear, so it would have to be Gen 1 by elimination. Next, what are my hopes for Yamato? I want to see maybe like Soyuz levels of faction buffing, and hopefully designed by one of my favorite artists, which I will talk about in a video soon. And past that, I don't really have any particular expectations. Next, what would be the extra wild content I would like to see added to the game? Not really sure about that, but I'm looking forward to that more chibi-style port thing they showcase with card games and fishing. I actually prefer that style over the 3D dorm we currently have. Next, what ships would I like to see added? I don't really know anything about ships outside of Azur lane, so I can't comment on what I would like added. Maybe add Janus' sisters and make them at least almost as precious as Janus. Next, I've already made a video in the past where I talked about how I would buff Kashino. I would let her hold more than one type of cargo, which she currently can't for some reason, and then also add a cargo which gives the fleet an additional ammunition. I don't know why that wasn't a thing to begin with. Next, do I think Anson deserves another try? If you mean a redesign, then yeah, sure, why not? I don't really have any issue with the original design either, but I don't think it would be worth the backlash from the community to reuse it. Next, what's the gear priorities for PvE-focused content? Prioritize the good ones. What do you want me to say? Next, what is my favorite ship and skin? For a long time, pretty much the beginning, my favorite ship has been Kaga, and my favorite skin is the Kaga skin, where she's sitting on a roof with the moon in the back. But due to unfortunate circumstances, Kaga lost her original voice actress, who is my favorite, and other characters that receive content much more often have gradually started to catch up. I actually have a video where I go over that exact topic, my favorite skins, if you're interested. Next, how good are Blackrock Shooter and Deadmaster? Honestly, I don't know. I haven't even properly read their kit. Next, how are people grinding Affinity so fast? If morale is the bottleneck, the only thing you can do to make it go faster is to force MVP on the one specific ship you want to raise Affinity for. Or maybe you don't have the second floor of the dorm unlocked, which has slightly faster morale recovery speed than the first floor, but the difference isn't night and day. Next, would you regret not getting a second line? I don't know. Next is a comment on my German pronunciation. Yeah, I know, for example, rune is pronounced roan or something. It just feels weird for me to say when looking at the letters on the screen. Next, will there be more of the secret tier list? Probably not. And I'll talk more about skins when the inspiration comes to me. Okay, this is the last question. I've read through it, and it's actually not even a question. I'm not really sure what this person is looking for, but I'll just offer a couple of quality of life things that I would like to see added to the game. First is a skill training queue, like the research queue, where you can queue up like 5 to 10 skill books. I typically leave my academy empty because I would rather not use it than get the notification 3 times a day. Actually, scratch that. It should just be instant. I don't know why in 2025, we still have to wait 3 weeks to max skill a new ship with 3 skills. It makes no sense to me. Aside from that, I think transparency when it comes to research project drop rates would be nice. I don't think there's really a good reason to hide it after all these years. Also, being able to lock a officer's skill and not having to reroll all the points every time would be an amazing quality of life addition. But if I had a vote, I would vote against it because of the amount of coins I've sank into the thing. I would have to be compensated at least 10 million coins before I even consider it. Okay, that's it for the Q&A. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.